Good day. In the 19th century, the early part of it, there was a British inventor called George Stephenson. George Stephenson is known in history as the man who invented the steam locomotive. He invented it in 1814, but he improved on it over time. And if there was any invention that changed the course of history, it may have been the steam locomotive. Because right in the middle of the Industrial Revolution, the steam locomotive came and transformed the ability to transport goods, transport people, and it became a very powerful tool in the industrialization of the United Kingdom, of Britain particularly. It gave Britain a powerful industrial edge in Europe. It was even made more powerful when he developed it, iterated on it, and in 1829, he came out with one particular train that he called the rocket. The rocket was revolutionary. Today, we experienced a very revolutionary invention too, but this time in America. In America today, Elon Musk finally got to have celebration, joy, because for the past year or two, he has been trying to get his Starship into orbit. Today, the Starship got into orbit. Starship 10 flight got into orbit, achieved a lot of milestones in orbit, and it was by far the biggest space rocket ever created by man. It is a rocket, this one. This one is not a train that is called a rocket. This one, it's a rocket that is called a rocket, and it's called Starship because this is the vehicle by which he has always said that man will become interplanetary. He has been, over the course of the past few years, been trying to get it to validate some tests, and today he achieved a lot. He achieved a lot of milestones. He even deployed some dummy space Starlink satellites into space, and it was a great cause of celebration. Elon Musk is helping America to continue to maintain its industrial edge. But at the same time, too, something happened, or some things have been happening in China. In China, a car, an electric one by BYD, was achieved a new speed limit, 470 kilometers per hour. 470 kilometers per hour. That's what an electric car achieved. Besides that also, China over this past year has rolled out a maglev train that does 600 kilometers per hour, close to being the speed of a plane, and two major cities in China celebrated special anniversaries. Chongqing celebrated its 25th year anniversary, and Shenzhen celebrated 45 years as a special economic zone. Both used spectacular drone displays in this celebration. It's very clear where the world is technologically now. There are just two countries in the technological race. It shows the big divide in the world now. The world has two nodes, China and America. Good day. Welcome to my channel, Ebima Mungo's Perspective on Global Affairs. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. If you have any comments regarding the opinions I express in this video, please put them in the comment section. Do well to like and share. Today, the world witnessed a very major milestone for Elon Musk. For the past 2 years, he has been trying repeatedly to try and get his Starship going. It hasn't gone well for him, but today he finally got to get it to go to space. The celebration in the Starbase, it was launched out of Texas, where I stay. I live in Texas. The celebration was one that was palpable everywhere because it's a very major milestone. It's a milestone that puts America, continues to make America the dominant country as regards to technology, especially space rocketry. Elon Musk is singularly responsible with his SpaceX for the way the world sees the space technology. And this particular achievement here now is one that has been validated. Yeah, he had a lot of tests done. And this by far is the biggest rocket, the biggest man-made structure to ever go into space. It has two parts, the booster and then the Starship itself. Starship did eventually get into space. And not only that, it returned, it deployed some satellites in space and came back and landed in a controlled landing in the Indian Ocean. It was an excellent feat of man. No other country has been able to do it. No other entity has been able to achieve this kind of milestone. None by miles. Elon Musk has upped the ante, and it is to America's benefit. But in another part of the world there, in China, yesterday, a few days ago, BYD did something very spectacular, equally as spectacular, but this time they did it on the racetrack. This is the BYD testing their Yangwang electric vehicle. I mean, I've got that, yeah. Yes, so they are testing the Yangwang electric vehicle here, and it's almost at 260, 280, 270 until it got to 400. It's only the Chinese and the Americans that are pushing the envelope in technology these days. The domains are plenty. The domains are plenty. Semiconductors, electronics, robotry, humanoid. China just did a big celebration of the humanoid robots. They played football, they boxed, it was just an interesting thing. In all of this, many regions of the world are missing, but one region is conspicuous in not being talked about in technology anymore, and that region is Europe. Today we got to know that even Mercedes-Benz they're losing sales in China, and rather it is the Chinese BYD that is selling significantly now in Germany. The world has turned on its head, and it is these two centers that are now leading the world in technology. But that is just not it, only the point at which they are leading the world. The reality has meant that while the West has coalesced for the past 80 years around America, the NATO framework, the G7, and all the Bretton Woods institutions that America has created and led, a new reality is forming in the East. China now has the BRICS countries, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and a whole slew of alliances, mainly economic. China has mainly tried to stay within the lanes of economic development and economic alliances. And for that reason, their affiliations and their growth and the kind of relationships they build they tend to be mainly economic. But the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is one that will see seeing China now form a kind of quasi-alliance that may tilt towards being a military one. It is not a military one now, but they discuss policy and they discuss about strengthening their regions, because for that particular region, it is about terrorism, it is about political challenges that may affect their ability to trade and do business with each other. And it is for this reason now that China is hosting this particular Shanghai Cooperation Organization in Tianjin between August 31st and September 1st. After that, China will also be celebrating a very big milestone, a very big achievement, 80 years of the defeat of Imperial Japan in World War II. There are a number of countries, I think over 15 countries will be attending this particular event. But the countries that make up the SCO are 10. There are 10 of them. China, Belarus, India, Iran, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Russia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Belarus too is also a member of this. But they have other members too who will be attending this particular meeting, and all of them are within that in Southeast Asia region. They have even Turkey too, though Turkey is an European country. They will be there. Vietnam will be there. Nepal will be there. Maldives, Malaysia, Laos, Indonesia. And there's even an African country, Egypt, that will also be attending. The country presidents, particularly those countries that are not part of it, specifically, will be attending in various forms as either observers, because so they have two tiers of participation, and those other ones. But for the 10 members, it will be Belarus, China, India, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Russia, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. These ones will have their presidents represented there, and these ones will be the ones who will be discussing the changing geopolitics in the world, especially as it regards to the role of NATO and the role NATO is playing within the Caucasus, trying to create confusion and cleavages within countries of the steppes. Those countries like Kyrgyzstan, those ones, the countries there that are bordering and close to Russia. There's a continuous and unending attempt to undermine them, especially Kazakhstan, which there was almost a coup to remove the president, and it was just the president of Russia, Putin, who sent troops to put down that coup. Because the attempt to come at Russia has been coming from many regions, not just Ukraine. It has also come from an attempt to use the rebel movements in Chechnya. It's an ending. So due to terrorist organizations and the ones that led to the problems in Xinjiang, they formed the Shanghai Cooperative Organization, so that it's a collective security organization, but it is not one built in the form of NATO. This is showing that the world has moved within two clear realities. That in the East led by China, and of course we know that led by NATO. NATO is fracturing. Britain, that once was a leader of the world for quite a number of time, they built on leverage on their advancement in industrialization. They conquered a large part of the world. They sold their language. They exported their language, their know-how and technology to a large part of the world. And they were the biggest imperial power the world has ever seen. Many of us are thankful for the fact that England gave us English, but England is waning and dying, and they don't even know it. They choose not to believe it. Today, Elon Musk had time preparatory to his launching his spacecraft to be tweeting about all the problems with immigration and the rape cases going on in England. The rape inquiry came out today, and it was a nasty one. England has found itself in a very bad place. But what have they been doing? For the past 80 years, Britain has reinvented itself. It became a good wheedler, a good talker. It may have lost its empire, but it had a big bully that it could control, and that bully was the United States. It did a very good job. It could lead US into many situations, making the US feel that they were the ones fronting those situations. Most of the times, the interest of the financial businesses in England and the UK were being protected in the Middle East. It will not surprise you, or it may surprise you, that there is a big imprint of the British petroleum in countries that have a lot of conflict. Iran, they lost a lot of it there. That's why they don't forgive Iran for it. Iraq, Syria. All those countries that are rich in mineral resources in the Middle East have a big imprint of British financiers, but unfortunately, they continue to want to keep that region. I think it became a cost for the region that even though they lost out, the Ottomans lost that region, it wasn't as lucrative. They just were vassal states that paid tribute. But when in the 21st century, that region found oil, oil became their problem. And it is the reason why the British have never forgotten. They invested. They created all the realities we see there through the Sykes-Picot, with their arrangement with France. So all the countries of the Middle East had an imprint. The only country that was lucky not to have an influence in their oil industry in the Middle East, ironically, is the one with the largest reserves of oil, and that's Britain. That's Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia did approach King Abdulaziz, did approach the British to help them explore for oil, but they refused. So King Abdulaziz, in the early days of the formation of the Saudi state, reached out to the owner of Standard Oil, and Standard Oil is who helped Saudi Arabia find oil, and that's why the Americans are the predominant investors in the oil industry in Saudi Arabia. It created a different kind of reality for Saudi Arabia, one devoid of the kind of divide and rule you find in all the other parts of the Middle East. So what has Britain been able to do in 80 years? Those great investors and those ones who move up the ladder to the House of Lords, they had a good thing. They could manage the big American bully that they had and move them into the policies that benefited them the most. But suddenly, out of nowhere, one who they did not see came onto the scene, and that is Donald Trump. But Donald Trump did not just come by himself. He now strengthened himself with a deputy that is even worse in his antipathy towards the Europeans as himself, J.D. Vance. But the British, being who they are, very cunning. A few weeks ago, the foreign minister of Britain, Lamy, he had a retreat in Chevening with who can possibly be considered the future president of America, J.D. Vance. Only God knows what kind of visitors he had, what kind of relationships he built in that his weekend or week-long visit to England. Because we should not forget the English are very good at it. They may have lost a lot of things, including their industrial power and their industrial might, but they have not lost their savvy in diplomacy and know-how. A lot of kings in the Middle East that we just talked about seem to have had their schooling in sandust. King Hussein of Jordan. The list is long, but even now, another king that is being groomed in Ukraine, another president, Zelensky, is in England as an ambassador. And we hear repeatedly every day that Zelensky may possibly be a replacement for Zelensky. The British are very good. Very, very good. Don't ever underestimate them. They're good. The Chatham House, the think tanks, the people who are in Whitehall, they are geniuses. Because one of the things you get to learn is that if you're someone who's working with a very powerful and effective leader, is that you don't have to lead. You can just continue to manage your leader. They are good at managing the American president until Donald Trump has come and caused a lot of problems. Donald Trump has changed the script. Now we see that technology has two nodes. But even then, you will see that China is one that will continue to surprise you. China produces 3 times the electricity. In fact, 3 times the electricity America produces. You can add the electricity generation of UK, US, and even India. It will not match that of China, which is 10,000 tetrawatt. That is just the kind of energy they produce. It's very big. And this energy gives them an advantage, especially at this age when we're talking about artificial intelligence. Data centers they're very hungry for electricity. And for some people who even go to China, the AI exponents and technicians and the ones who build it, they tell you that the race is already won. The Chinese, with their vast investment in electricity and continuing to, they're already building the biggest hydroelectric power plant again now in Tibet. They are not relenting. They already have the Three Gorges Dam. They have, this year alone, the amount of solar that China has put in service is more than the electricity generation of Germany. That's the kind of numbers we're talking about. It's mind-boggling. So we see that technologically, and if any country is matching America in space technology, it's only China. It's only China. But it's not America, it's Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a government on its own when it comes to space technology. There's even the American president who fell out with him recently was told and came to see how they just have to rely on him. Starlink, Starshield, the defense part of the Starlink business that Pentagon uses now. The continuous success of the Falcon 9 rocket, unmatched. They have already sent 130 space flights this year. The numbers are not real. And now it creates one rocket system today that is beyond belief. Nobody can see. It takes only Elon Musk. I live in Austin, Texas, and I see the manufacturing capacity of Tesla. It boggles the mind. And you don't hear anything like this from England, from France, from Germany. Germany is falling back. They are falling back in a very sad way. The leader of the industrial world in Europe is falling far behind. They are being forced to make tough choices. Either you join the Chinese in developing, which they have done. In fact, the fact that the robots and the technologies that they use in China, a lot of those high-end value products that China now has were actually use German technology as base. So they are aligning themselves with China, but they are also forced to align themselves with America. Elon Musk, I was saying, has bust the reality Donald Trump, forgive me, has bust the reality for the Western Bloc. He has created a cleavage that is disturbing. NATO and the alliance is in a bad place. And even though the British and the French and the Germans and the Europeans find themselves in a bad place, they have not relented in their war and their battle with Ukraine, with Russia. They are today the defense minister and the prime minister of Norway, all when the new defense minister was introduced, the UK defense minister was introduced to President Zelensky and told that they will continue to be supported, especially in their drone warfare. The Norwegian prime minister was also there to tell Zelensky that he brought funds, he brought quite a lot of money to support the drone warfare. Apparently, Ukraine's ability to make drones and shoot drones, I think it is the fact that they have an immunity in shooting long-range drones into Russia, justified because Russia has been shooting at them. They are at war, effectively. The European countries now see that should be the way forward because the missiles may mean something much more. If you help Ukraine get missile systems that hit Moscow, Moscow can retaliate and blow up places in Oslo. But if you help them get long-range drones, as they're already getting and blowing up a lot of refineries in in Russia, in far-flung places within Russia. The Ukrainians have become quite good at it. Of course, it is weak. It's a collective effort. Everybody is joining hands in building this defense capacity of Ukraine. And Ukraine now, since they have decided to use asymmetric methods on this war, they have got the full backing. The talk about drone is now the talk that everybody is leading to, is energizing every other country now that supports Ukraine. That support is not relenting. Even though yesterday we heard that President Trump says he's no more funding the Ukrainian state. Europe, NATO announced $50 billion for Ukraine. Germany announced $9 million for Ukraine. And Norway also came with bearing gifts for Ukraine. Canada has visited bearing gifts for Ukraine. Ukraine is not, they are far away from stopping this war because they have a lot of support, but they are already having some problems with some neighbors. Viktor Orban has threatened that the way he views the antagonism of the Ukrainian state, shooting at the Druzhba pipeline that supplies both Slovakia and Ukraine and Hungary with oil. He views it as an act of war. He has stated that he would, it strengthens his mind now that he will stop any attempt of Ukraine to join the European Union. The same thing too with Slovakia. Ukraine has a problem with its neighbors. The Vlodin massacre too has made the Poles to say that they will stop first benefits, they will review the benefits to Ukrainians, and then they expect the Ukrainian state, Zelensky, to acknowledge that there was that massacre and there was that involvement by Steven Bandera's supporters that massacred Poles in many parts of it. People don't forget that Steven Bandera was a collaborator with Hitler. A lot of the countries there, even Finland now that is feeling the heat of they are joining NATO too, were supporters of Hitler. At the first instance, they supported Hitler, and when they saw that the war was turning against Hitler, they smartly moved and started to support the Soviets. And that was what won them their peace and their state of neutrality for quite a long time until they traded that neutrality recently when they thought NATO. They saw NATO. A salesman in Biden came and told them that we should, the multilateral state should be strengthened. And he brought them all together, focused them. He had a natural hatred for Putin. He focused all of them, brought out all their Russophobic tendencies, apart from, ironically, that of Olaf Scholz. Olaf Scholz was not sold on that project, but they did. They helped him to, or nudged him into being part of the project. Olaf Scholz was the one who sent helmets and vests and T-shirts to the Ukrainians at the early part of the war. He wasn't game on it. But after they blew up the Nord Stream pipeline and prodded him quite aggressively, he joined the war, but he was a reluctant participant. Germany was, but not this German prime minister. This one, Friedrich Merz, Friedrich Merz has taken over from where Boris Johnson and Biden left off. Those great supporters of the cause, Anthony Blinken, Victoria Nuland, all the people that pushed, nudged, and moved Ukraine to this part in history that they find themselves in. The Europe that is supporting Ukraine is the Europe without a backbone, without the technological developments going on in the world now. We see the kind of crazy things that the Chinese are doing with drones. The Chinese drone shows are one that is just amazing to see. All over China now, Shenzhen just celebrated its anniversary with an amazing drone show, Chongqing, with drone show. These are still pictures. If I had shown the videos of it, it's much more amazing. This is the chart that shows electricity generation between China and the United States. It's It's mind-boggling. That is just the least to say about it. The world has changed. Europe is nowhere to be found. Europe is in a bad place. And yet they continue to support Ukraine. They continue to say they will fight this war as long as it takes. Trump has washed his hand off the war. He says that Europe should continue to persecute the war. Trump does say that he have a big announcement. He may just announce that he's pulling out of the war. He may, if he can do that before the neocons around him, because Trump's biggest problem as regards to this war is a domestic one. The support for Ukraine is much within the Republican and the Democratic Party. Richard Blumenthal, Lindsey Graham, and a whole suite of senators we don't see. These are the ones we know about, but they are all supporters of the Ukrainian cause, just as they have them in Europe. They are focused, they are energized. But like we see, the two alliances that are forming, one is fractured, the NATO and the Western Alliance, because their leader has chosen not to continue to be led in a so-called globalist scam for the Americans as he sees it. He sees that they have been eating off America, feeding off America, and they should bear their cross. And even the benefit of their lack of spending on security, which America had provided for over 80 years, that benefit, which was social services, has been destroyed. The blowback of the Ukraine war has destroyed their economies so completely. They are not in growth. And now they cannot do social services, which was what Europe was known for. Metz is saying that it's not sustainable anymore. UK is thinking about increasing tax. France is in a bad way. They may call election, but the skullduggery, the ability to meander that Macron has learned in the past 4 or 5 years will make him escape holding an election. They are not in a good place because of this war. The world has changed, but Europe continues to want to persecute this war, despite the reality that is staring them on the face, that the war, and indeed Europe, has lost the war in Ukraine. This is where I end my video for today. If you think that the Ukrainians and the European backers will collectively can change the tide of the war as regards to what's going on in the world now, if you actually think that Trump may change his mind and start to support the Ukrainians and get back into the fold, that the multilateral world, the globalist world, the neoliberal world, the world that we had known for several years, and who gave the world all the instructions they must follow until the Chinese came and disrupted everything. If you think that he may get back into that fold, put it in the comment section. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Do well to like and share. Until I see you in my next video. Goodbye.